Hey guys, how are we going today? Hope we're all having a lovely day. I'm back for a Makeup for Mental Health Monday video. I'm actually filming this right now before I film my 2022 no-buy video. Basically I've got to put makeup on anyway to film that one, so I may as well do this one first. That video most likely will go up before this one, but I wanted to sit down and address some issues like why I haven't posted in so long, why it's even been months since I filmed my last video, and basically 2021 was a really big shit show. I know it has been for a lot of the world, pretty similar to 2020, but this year has just been, well, last year I should say, it's the 3rd of January at the moment in 2022, and yeah, 21 was just awful. My mental health has been the worst that I can ever recall it. In December, I actually ended up being hospitalized with stress. I thought I was having a heart attack, lots of chest pains, breathlessness. The doctors ran all sorts of tests and they basically put it all down to stress. So I'm going to get into the makeup, otherwise I'm not going to get ready at all. And honestly, makeup is one of the only things that is making me feel better right now. So I'm going to go in with my Becca backlight or backlit, I can't read it, priming filter. Another thing that happened in 2021 is I basically went to my optometrist for a checkup, and he's like, oh yeah, you need to start wearing glasses all the time now. So my eyes are just, well, I don't need to wear them all the time, but when my eyes are tired, I have a lot of trouble focusing. I'm having a lot of trouble focusing in general the last year, but yeah, my eyes and my vision have been playing up a little bit. So I really actually like this primer. I'm not really a big fan of shiny makeup in general, but this year, well, last year, I think I have kind of relaxed that a little bit more and just going with the flow, no matter how many powdery products I put on, my oil just keeps coming back through. So I am embracing it. I'm doing everything that I can to stop the oil, prevent the oil. But I know it's going to come up anyway, so I'm going to try and keep as luminous as possible all over so that it doesn't just look oily, greasy. I look glowy. So on top of my, I don't know, luminous primer, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to go in with my L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear foundation in a powder, which I'm pretty sure I only got this last year, but I am really loving it. I have used quite a bit of that, and it's actually really good. It's a really good match for my skin. I have the color 130 True Beige, which I thought was going to be a little bit too dark, but it's pretty pretty good. And like you can see, it covers the oil and it covers my skin, but you can still see that bit of a glow underneath it, which, when the oil starts popping back up, it does it really naturally and not so oily. It just looks like it's kind of getting more and more luminous through the day. Now I do most of the time still need to touch up a few spots through the day with the oiliness, just blot it away, but nowhere near as bad as it usually is. I don't know nowhere near as bad as I used to have to do it. And you can see I'm having some lovely breakouts here. Lately, I was actually really good over Christmas. There was like a good 2.5 weeks where I didn't have any breakouts at all. And then these little buggers all popped up within like a day or two. Alrighty, cool, that's done. Now I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of a banana powder just to lighten up under there a little bit. Oh, that went in my eye. Yeah, so 2021 was a bit awful. It was awful for everybody. I'm not just saying it was just awful for me. I think this last 2 years have just been exceptionally trying, and I feel so guilty for feeling stressed and anxious and depressed, because I know that there are so many more people out there who have it so much harder, and that guilt over feeling that way makes me feel even worse. So, the anxiety and then feeling guilty about being anxious actually makes me more anxious, and the being depressed. I'm not just saying I feel depressed. After I ended up in hospital, I went back to my doctor and she has put me back on my antidepressants. I basically got to the hospital that night at about 9:15. By the time I left, it was about 2:45 in the morning. I got back home just after 3, maybe about 3:30. I was in bed and I slept until 8 o'clock. I got up to take my daughter to school, but got back home and basically slept all day again until about 2:30 in the afternoon. Slept all that night, went and saw my doctor the next day, but basically all of Wednesday afternoon, all of the Thursday, the day that I went to see my doctor, I was just in tears all day. Or if I wasn't in tears, I felt like I was always like 5 or 10 seconds away from bursting into tears for no reason. I had to go to the chemist to get my prescription filled, and while I was waiting, I stopped in at Best and Less just to have a look and see what they had. They had some Grinchy t-shirts on sale, and I thought I might get one for my daughter. The greeter at the door, I didn't even get her name. She was a lovely lady, and she must have thought I was insane to start with. She basically just said, "Oh, hi, how are you?" right as I walked in, and it just tipped me over the edge. I burst into tears for no reason. And she stood there with me for a good 10-15 minutes just listening to everything that was going on in my life, and I don't know. It was just a really horrendous day. I was in tears on and off all day as I was walking through the shopping centre. I just couldn't get them to stop. I sat down to eat something and the knife slipped off my plate and it made a big bang, and I just felt that awful feeling inside, like everyone was looking at me, everyone was staring me, everyone was watching me. And then I started, the tears started rolling down my face, and it just made me so much more anxious and nervous because I felt like everybody was watching me, and it was just very overwhelming. It was a very overwhelming few weeks. Now I've been on the antidepressants for a bit over a month now. It must have been at the end of November it happened. So it was the end of November, start of December. I can't remember the exact date. And I can feel it. I am starting to feel better. the first week in particular was really hard. And I am feeling better. I'm definitely feeling better than I was then. I still have some bad days, but the good days are outweighing the bad. I'm having more good days than bad days. And, you know, there are days where I still feel numb and lost, but it's not nearly as often as it was. And it's not nearly as often as it was beforehand and before I got help. So I'm gonna keep going because I haven't put anything on in a second. I'm gonna go in with my Makeup Obsession blush, and this is in the shade B102 Perfect, with my Spectrum Collections brush. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love that. So when I was speaking with my doctor that Thursday, I, you know, basically went through everything that's been happening this year. So my parents, so my mum and my stepdad, live in a different state. They sold their house about 4 years ago and were traveling for a while and basically rebuilt a house in another state. So it's been difficult having them so far away when I was always so close with them, and so close with my mum in particular. You know, we've always lived 5 minutes away from each other. Oh, I'm just going in with my Revolution Ultra Contour Kit. Just any contour. But the past 2 years, especially with lockdowns that we've had and borders between the states being closed, has been very difficult. We missed Christmas with them last year. No, the year before. So Christmas of 2020 we missed with them. They came down to see us, and they were planning on staying until after Christmas New Year, but the Queensland border was closed just before Christmas, so they basically had 2 days to get back over the border before it was closed, and they would have been here in an indefinite amount of time, which was basically a full year. So they've only just been able to come back down this Christmas. So it was so difficult knowing that they were so far away that, you know, if they needed to come down, they would have to fly down and they would have to quarantine for 2 weeks, which would have cost about $4,000 for, you know, accommodation and whatnot. So it was just very stressful knowing that, you know, I couldn't see them. I couldn't go up there. They couldn't come down here. And then we had lockdown. I think this was, we'd only really been in lockdown once in 2020, and I don't even remember how long it was for. This time we were in lockdown. Sydney and the Central Coast were in lockdown for quite a while before it was extended to where I live. I think even then it was about 2 months, 3 months before we went into lockdown, and we I think it was August we went into lockdown, and when it was eased it would have been October, sometime around then, maybe November. It was essentially almost a full school term that we had to do homeschooling, and it was very difficult. I was still working at the same time, and, you know, having my daughter at home while I'm trying to work, she's trying to do her schoolwork, and, you know, coming in asking me a million questions while I'm trying to work. It was very stressful. My ex-husband was obviously still working, and, you know, he tried to help out as much as he could, but logistically it was very difficult with his work and what days he could help out. And it was still basically, by the time he would finish work, I had finished work anyway. I'm going to go in with my e.l.f. Baked highlighter in Moonlight Pearls. Moonlit, who knows? So he tried to help out, but it was still very difficult. We had a lot of, tech issues. They were always setting up Zoom meetings, and it was either not working on their end or not working on our end, or, I was busy with work and I would forget. And then she'd get upset because she was missing them. And, I'm working all the time, so I couldn't even take her outside to, blow off some steam. It was over winter when it was still really cold. So by the time I finished work, it's too cold to go outside and I was too exhausted. I wasn't sleeping. 21 was the year when my insomnia has been the worst it's been as well, which would always set off my anxiety, and then that would make my insomnia worse, and that whole spiral there. It just felt like I was losing control, and there was so much that I couldn't do, and I was trying to get vaccinated, but they just weren't releasing the vaccine that I needed to get in my area. They, it was pretty much, they were only doing groups of people at a time. So they would do like nurses and people who worked in aged care, and then school teachers and this and that. And each time it would be a month before they would release the next batch of people that they could do. So September, thankfully I managed to get vaccinated, which was great. And actually, I think it might have been July when we went into lockdown. So we went into lockdown in July, and it was like September or October by the time, we were finally able to get out again, because it was pretty much that entire school term. And I think maybe even a week or two before that. So it could have even been June. So it was like 4 months essentially that we were stuck at home. And I have health issues and hereditary issues, which is why I couldn't go and get another vaccine, and why I was trying to stay at home as much as possible. I think there was a period of about 4 or 5 weeks where I left the house 3 times, and that was only to go grocery shopping. In a space of about 2 months, I put fuel in my car once. So it was very difficult. I still consider myself extremely grateful that I never got sick, and that no one I know, well, there's one person I know now who has gotten it, but he was asymptomatic, and aside from that, nobody I know has gotten it so far. There have been a couple of close calls, especially during December with the new variant, but I'm extremely grateful that nobody that I know has gotten seriously ill with COVID. Although I have had a few family health issues come up. So I'm not sure if it was October or November, 2 close family members have been hospitalized with blood clots in their lungs. 2 family members, unrelated, that this has just happened to. One was vaccinated, one was unvaccinated. There were a lot of other complications to do with that as well, so that must have been in November. So that was, very difficult, and with hospital restrictions, I couldn't go see them. Thankfully, one was only in for 2 days, I think, in the hospital. The other was in for a week or so. But still, it's been very difficult to be able to go and see them, because I don't want to risk getting them sick if, I happen to have picked something up and I'm contagious but don't have symptoms. So it was, difficult not seeing a lot of family as well while we've been in lockdown. Everybody's living in different government areas, so I haven't been able to go out and visit. We're not allowed to have visitors. We weren't allowed to go and visit people. It felt very isolating. And, aside from being physically isolated, I felt very, mentally isolated and emotionally isolated as well. And to top it all off, a couple of weeks after both of those members were in hospital, another family member had a heart attack on the Monday, and he's okay. Everything was okay. You know, they put in some stents. I'm going to go in with my That's Taupe palette. I think I'll go in with the shade Boa. Thankfully he's okay. He was only in hospital for a few days, but I had already been going to see my doctor about some health issues that I'd been having. So I had been having chest pains, I had been feeling unwell, I had been feeling a little breathless. They ran all sorts of tests, EKGs, ECGs, whatever they are. Didn't find any issues. They did blood tests, but still couldn't really figure out what it was that was causing my chest pains. And it was like a fluttering feeling in my heart as well, and sometimes it would feel like a thumping, and you know, they never really gave me any answers for anything like that. And it was probably 2 weeks later that the family member had had a heart attack on the Monday. The Tuesday was a very stressful day for me at work. I had a lot of computer issues. Thankfully by this time my daughter's back at school, so I wasn't still doing the homeschooling. And yeah, so Tuesday night I finished work. I wasn't feeling that great. It had been a very tiring day, so I thought I'll have a bath, just relax for a while. And while I was in the bath, the chest pain started. So it was a deep pain in my chest, like a really, like someone was pushing against me. Now I'm going to go in with the shade Slated, which I've heard that this one is a Super Shock shadow. I don't know, I don't have confirmation of that, but I do love how that one looks there. Yes, so I started having chest pains, and then probably 2 hours later, I put it off to, I've just been sitting at a desk all day. It's probably just because I've been sitting in the same position. Got out of the bath, had a bit of a stretch. About an hour later, I thought maybe it's a bit of heartburn. Took something for it, didn't really do anything. About an hour later, I took some painkillers, and not long after that, I started feeling very breathless. So dropped my daughter off with her dad, drove down to the hospital. As I was driving down, I was, getting more and more pain. Pretty much contemplated pulling over and calling an ambulance, which looking back I should have. But it was only a 5-minute drive away from the hospital, so I thought it'll take them longer to get there and pick me up than it will just to keep going. Got to hospital, they did a quick EKG and took my blood pressure, no problems there, so they sat me in the waiting room. Now this was at about 9:30 at night. An hour later, they called me back in for to take some blood to see, what was going on, because they'd already, confirmed I wasn't having a heart attack. There were a few people that kind of came in after me, and at about 1 o'clock in the morning, I went back up and asked what was happening, because they hadn't called me in. We'd all been sitting there for so long. Nobody else was going in. Actually, I think about that at that point, one other person had been taken through, but he had some other issues going on that were deemed more urgent than what was going on with everyone else. I think it was that was 1 o'clock, so I went up and asked, and they said that they'd had 7 ambulances come in during the time between I got there and when I was there. They told me that I would be the next person that they called up. And I finally got in to see a doctor at about 2:15. By the time that I went in, 4 other people or groups of people had actually walked out because they'd been there that long. Only one of those, couples of people had actually been there before I got there. So it was basically just me and 2 other people left in the waiting room, a mother and son. and that was it. Everyone else had just kind of given up. So I went in and saw a doctor, talked him through everything. They were concerned about me having blood clots in my lungs or a pneumothorax. I have had a history of blood clots in the past, which was why they were concerned, and that was one of the things that I was thinking it was going to be as well. You know, I was sitting in the waiting room, just waiting and waiting, and constantly felt like I was in pain and going to throw up and pass out. And, you know, I was looking at the floor, and the floor looked like it was moving, and it was just one of those patterns. And, you know, my mind was just freaking out. So they took me in for some x-rays. They'd saved, you know, some of my blood from the tests, and they, you know, they ran that for blood clots. No blood clots, no issues on my x-rays, so the doctors had put it down to stress, which when I'd talked everything through to them, they'd said seemed pretty reasonable, and looking back now, I can definitely see it as well. I'm going to pop on some of my eyeliner. This is just a Sephora one. I don't even know what it's called. It just says eyeliner, intense, gentle, waterproof, and it's in the shade Delicious Cocoa. Yes, so that's pretty much it. I've had a couple of panic attacks since. Now, I have had some panic attacks throughout the year as well. And, you know, I have some days where I just still feel so helpless, and I don't know, like, just like something's wrong, like something's not right within here. And the only way I could describe it was that no matter what I do, I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing, like something's not right. Like when you hop in the shower and you look down and you think, am I still wearing clothes? Am I still wearing my underwear? No matter what I did, I had that feeling. Like I got up, I got dressed, I made a cup of tea, and, you know, took my medication, and something just felt not right, like I wasn't doing it the right way. I'm going to go in with my Colourpop Act Natural Defining Mascara. And even then, this day where I wasn't feeling right, this was only, when was it? 4 days ago, 5 days ago, I don't remember. It was the 30th, I think. So it's the 3rd of January now, so that's, yeah, 4 or 5 days. And yeah, I don't know, like the next day was a better day, and the weekend was better. Yesterday was better. It just felt so helpless. Like I couldn't do anything to fix it. It needed to go away on its own. It needed to work its way out. And when I was sitting down last night planning, yesterday was actually a pretty good day. So I was sitting down planning out what I was going to talk about with my no-buy, and I started going through all these things. I was watching some other videos while I was planning it out, especially 2 videos by Hannah Louise Poston about whether you should do a no-buy and like actually doing the no-buy. And she started bringing up a few issues and, you know, reasons behind overspending and issues in relation to the no-buy. And it just got me thinking more and more that, you know, my spending habits over the past year and purchases that I've made, and, you know, shopping binges that I've been on, and even things like my internet search history and, you know, my scrolling habits through Instagram, and my feelings about wanting products is all in relation to my mental health. So it's pretty much whenever I'm feeling really shitty, I will just sit there and scroll through Instagram and scroll through Facebook and watch YouTube videos and reviews and, you know, try and do all this stuff to make myself feel better. But what it's doing is my brain has kind of always associated making purchases and, you know, buying makeup and using makeup with something that I love, and it's something that makes me feel good. So whenever I'm having some of these not so good feelings, like the anxiety and the depression and the stress, it's turned into my coping mechanism, which isn't healthy, because when I go through these periods where it's affecting me mentally, then that's when I go through shopping binges. And, you know, the last month, I can't tell you how much I have spent. I honestly can't. I've been anticipating doing a no-buy since October last year. That was when I had decided to do it. So I was thinking about it in September and in October, especially by the end of October. I'm like, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. You know, I'll try not to buy too much during the next 2 months, and then I will go on a no-buy for all of 2022. And by the time I got to November, I was starting to not feel good, and I had those feelings of, this is my last chance. This is my last chance to buy anything before 2022. So I need to get in and buy absolutely everything that I want, which is definitely not healthy. And given how I was feeling during November and December, I think was definitely a coping mechanism, because every time I would make these purchases, I would think, yes, I'm so excited. Yes, I'm so happy. I've finally gotten it. I can't wait to, you know, for these things to arrive. And it was one purchase that I made that started it all, that started the snowball effect. And it was some like glitter eyeshadows. And I shouldn't even say it was all of December. It was the last week and a half of December. So that purchase I made on the 19th or 20th of December. And I know that because it was shipped out the same day and still hasn't arrived yet, obviously because of, you know, planes not flying over Christmas and New Year and whatnot, and, you know, post offices being shut down. I don't even think it's left England where it was coming from. But that was the, you know, the tiny snowball that started rolling down the hill and gaining momentum. And I'm gonna go in with my Huda Beauty Demi Matte, what's it called? It's a cream lipstick in the shade oh, that's not gonna focus. I don't know why I did that, sorry. Oh, I don't know if I like that one. Oh yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I think it's just in the mirror, it looks a bit funky, but oh, I love the smell of that. Yeah, and what else did I get? There was something else beauty-wise that I've ordered. I can't even remember what it is. But I know on New Year's Eve, I put in an order with Colourpop as well, because there was one thing that I wanted, and it was the set of the Super Shock shadows, the 3 Super Shock shadows with the new Rose collection. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I wanted those 3 Super Shock shadows because I thought that they were absolutely gorgeous, and now that I look back at it, I don't need them because I bought some stuff from Charlotte Tilbury this year, and one of the palettes is basically those 3 Super Shock shadows. But I still did it anyway, and then there were a couple of things that I thought do I need this? Do I need that? You know, I'm going to do a no buy. Maybe I should stock up on a few things. And there were 2 things that I deleted from the shopping cart. But there was one thing in particular, and it was a little eyeshadow quad that I wanted, that I couldn't buy singularly. They do have it in the big collection of them, but there were 2 palettes within that collection that I know I will not use. And, you know, 4 of them, 2 of them I definitely will. 2 of them I most likely will, but 2 I definitely won't use. But I still put all the, you know, the entire collection in my shopping cart and bought it. And I have been able to justify it since then, because I know that, you know, there was another palette that I was really, really wanting to get last year, and it was the Tardy palette, which is now discontinued. So, you know, in my mind, I'm able to justify it that, you know, most of those quads would be the same as, you know, what her palette is, or, you know, most of the, you know, the black ones and the dark brown ones and whatnot. I'm pretty sure that these quads will be a fairly similar representation of those, and anything else that, you know, I don't have, I out of that, you know, 6 palette collection, I probably already have here anyway. So, but here I am again, I'm trying to justify it. It's just so hard, because I feel so, it's like my purchasing habits and my spending habits are so linked with my feelings and my emotions and my mental health that it's really becoming an issue, and it's really starting to affect my life. You know, there are so many things that I want to do, and so many things that I want to do around the house and go out and places that I want to see, but I can't do that because I can't afford them. And I can't afford them because I keep spending all my money on makeup and skincare and body care products. Like, you wouldn't believe the amount of money I have spent this year on, well, the amount of money I have spent within the last year on products, especially makeup, like hair care and body products. I think I have used more than what I have spent. But makeup, I'm pretty sure at the start of the year I had about $2,000 worth of makeup, and now I think I have about $3,500. Now, a lot of that I did get on sale, and when I was doing my inventory, I have done it on the retail prices, so if I was to replace things, but it's still a lot more. And the number of palettes that I have and the number of lip products I have this year as opposed to last year, like my ins versus my outs, is scary. And, you know, that's one of the issues I want to work through with my no buy this year. So I am just going to go in with my Revolution Focus and Fix brow shaping kit. I'm basically only using the wax in this. The colors are just not right for me. So I'm going to go in with a little brush. Whoops, way too much wax there. Shit, and now it's not coming off the brush. Yeah, so it's so difficult trying to determine, you know, the reasons behind my anxiety, and, you know, it's the whole cause and effect thing, and, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is my anxiety making my spending worse, or is my spending making my anxiety worse? And are they both affecting each other, or is it only one that's affecting the other? So that's one of the things I plan on working through this year. And I will spray it. So I'm gonna go in with my Flower Beauty Seal the Deal mist. Oh, that's nice. So yeah, hopefully this year I will be feeling up to filming more videos, and especially filming more of these videos. I think I should continue to do it even if I'm not feeling up for it. Like I need to make a change in my life, and I know that there are a lot of people out there who are going through the same kinds of things. And you know, if I can't stand up and talk about my own issues, then how many other people out there are feeling the exact same thing? And it's conversations we need to be having. So, you know, if there are any issues that you would like me to discuss, or even something that you feel like you need to get out and talk about it, please feel free to comment down below. You know, subscribe, let me know how you're going, let me know what's going on with you, and we can, you know, start that conversation. Let's all, you know, kind of band together and group together. I'm not in this alone. And you know, I think a lot of this year I've felt like I have been, you know, I haven't had people contacting me to see how I'm going, but at the same time I haven't been contacting people to see how they're going, or, you know, to let them know how I'm going. And we really need to be doing that. And you know, the last month or two, a lot of people have said to me, if you need anything, let me know. If you need anything, let me know. And I say the same things to them all the time, but I feel like I'm a burden when I do that. And I know that if those same people came to me with the exact same issues that I'm having, I wouldn't feel like they're burdening me. So if you feel like you're a burden to anyone, or your issues are, you know, putting too much stress or pressure on them, reach out to me. I will take that burden and, you know, bear it with you. We all need to be in this together, and you are not alone, the same as I am not alone. So if you have anything you need to share, please feel free to comment down below, and you know, hopefully we can work through this together, and we can help each other walk this road. Thank you so much for watching.